where I got your little capybara from.
What is in here?
I have to get the blue calico cat earrings, don't I? Of course.
Golden triangle.
I know, the trolley is not edible.
My one. This one.
This one's
Hey,
Indy's
look at the
favourite.
size.
Oh, look at the size.
And the other one, see?
And the
Butterflies.
others.
Butterfly. Butterfly. It's funny though.
I know, but then look, Indy. Sprayed edges.
Hello and welcome to another reading vlog. So this one is the last vlog of the month and I am reading the rest of the recommendations that I got from booktubers or from subscribers. So let's get straight into it. I have read one. Here we have Little Scratch by Rebecca Watson, and I saw this on Jan Agaton's channel, and she did preface that it is not to everyone's taste. It certainly has one of the most unique writing style and formats I have ever read. I'm going to show you what it's like. So this is literally the most stream of conscious writing I have ever read in my life. So there'll be bits that are going on actually in the real world and then what's going on internally in her head. And it takes quite a lot of effort. For me, it did take a Herculean amount of effort to read it. So I didn't enjoy the reading experience. I am impressed by what it was doing. Like obviously this was a very well done book, but I didn't find it enjoyable. It's just about one woman and her day. Basically, there are heavy themes in here, especially of sexual assault. So I did end up giving it a 2.5, and that's just because, as I said, I found it pretty hard to read, and I didn't particularly love it either, but it was certainly a novel experience. I haven't read anything like it. The next book I picked up was The Book of All Loves by Augustin Fernandez Mello, translated by Thomas Bernstead. And I saw this on Leah Crumpton's channel. She hadn't read it yet, but she was going to, so I decided to give it a go. It is sort of a love letter between two people and sort of their relationship. It's written in a very poetic style. So once again, the writing style and the format in this was definitely unique. And basically they just talk about a whole range of topics, and from those topics you see their love for each other. I could see what it was trying to do, but for me, I just didn't feel anything. It was, like I said, certainly poetic, but it didn't stir any emotions within me, and I wasn't in my feels about it. So I did end up DNFing it because I just wasn't enjoying it, and I could just tell it just wasn't for me. I'm not the reader for it. So I did DNF that one 50% of the way through. And then I picked up The Little Village of Book Lovers by Nina George, and this was recommended to me by a viewer, TZ76 Patriot. And I'll start by saying the idea of this is very cool. So you've got a young woman, and because of her association with the virtue love, she ends up becoming a bit of a matchmaker because she can see love's imprint on certain people. So in this book, the virtues are personified. So there's love, lust, death, fate, a whole bunch of them. What really let this book down was the writing and the way that the story was being told. It was just incredibly confusing and muddy and messy. And it was a chore to just understand what's going on. So it was the telling, the execution that let this book down for me, and I just wasn't enjoying it. Like I said, the idea was really intriguing, but the way it was being portrayed was a bit clumsy. So I did DNF that one after about 100 pages. And then I picked up the book Tilly and the Book Wanderers. This is the first in the Pages & Co series by Anna James. I saw this on It's Myra's channel, and this is a middle grade book. And this is a middle grade book for book lovers. So the premise of this is there is a young girl who lives in a bookstore with her grandparents, and she is a book wanderer, which means she has the ability not only to pull characters out of books, like some of her favorites, Alice from Alice in Wonderland and Anne from Green Gables, but also to go into the stories that she loves. Now, there is an organization of librarians that kind of police this magical ability and the people that can do this ability. There are a lot of rules for various reasons. With this particular story, there's also an overlying mystery of what happened to Matilda, or Tilly's mother. One day she came home pregnant, gave birth to Matilda, and then disappeared soon thereafter, and they have no idea what happened to her. So once Matilda develops these abilities, she decides to go on the hunt for her mother through her mother's favorite books. So really interesting idea. I have given it 3.5, and it's just because it was a bit young for me, and there were some pacing issues, and some of the way it was written felt a bit juvenile. But like I said, I'm not the target audience, but I still enjoyed it. It was a 3.5. I would 100% recommend this to middle graders. I think it's a fantastic story with excellent characters. There's enough sort of, what's the word? It's not anticipation, it's not intrigue. Stakes. It's not the word I'm looking for, but that'll do. There are stakes in this, but I would say it isn't alarming or scary. So it could even be for younger readers, although it might be a bit confusing. The world building is quite intense, so the younger readers might struggle with the world building. But overall, the book was giving me the Page Master vibes. So if you've seen that movie and you love that movie, you'll probably enjoy this book if you're not averse to reading a middle grade. There was one sort of adult thing in there in which her mother did something that is not allowed when she was visiting stories. But as an adult, I'm like, you guys got to understand, that's probably got to be one of the main reasons why an adult would go into their favorite novel. You know, can you blame them for not doing that with a character? Obviously, it's a kid book, so I don't think they're going to dwell on that. But yeah, I was surprised that the librarians would be like, oh, you mustn't do that. Naughty, naughty. But I did appreciate too that the kids, when they were deciding what books they're going to go into, did realize that even though being in the Harry Potter world would be fun, they would be muggles in that world, and that world is not a world for muggles. And likewise too with Lord of the Rings, they're like, let's go to the Shire. And Tilly's like, I'd rather not come face to face with an orc, because if you die in the book, you die for realsies. So they were like, let's pick a book where it's pretty safe. It's pretty chill. We're not going to have to run for our lives. We can just relax and enjoy the ambience. So yeah, 3.5 stars. It was an enjoyable time. And I did listen to that one on audiobook, which I think was just under 8 hours. So I thought the audiobook was also very easy to go along with. The book that I'm currently reading is quite interesting. Before I get into it, I'll tell you what it's called and where I saw this. There is no anti-mimetics division, and it's by, okay, what is this? Quantum, Sam Hughes. And I saw this on Brandy Reads Books channel. So she hadn't read it yet, but it piqued my interest. So this is a sci-fi / horror, and it's supposed to be short stories. I believe it's also a television show. So this is very hard to describe. So an anti-meme is an idea with self-censoring properties. So by its very nature, you cannot share it or talk about it or remember it. And I've just started reading, and obviously it's a little bit of the world building and understanding what an anti-meme is and the nature of it and what it does and its purpose and how people are trying to get around that. But it's so interesting. It's written in a very cool way. There's some like classified documents, things, which was reminding me of the Illuminae files, if that's what that book was called. And we've got some characters that are very interesting. So there's an elderly woman, and she is obviously part of this governmental organization that is sort of monitoring these anti-memes. And like I said, it's really interesting. It is confusing. It's making my brain work to try and understand the concept. But already there's been just like wild reveals and things going on. So I'm already on sort of like the seat of my pants to see where this goes. So I don't know how long each short story is because like I said, I'm only like a couple of pages in, but I am hooked. I am invested. I'm excited. So that's what I've got on. I may as well tell you the other books that I'm going to read now as well, so you know what to expect for the rest of the vlog. So I'm also going to pick up The Sword Defiant by Gareth Hanrahan, and this is a fantasy book. And I saw my girl Marine from The Waves of Your Soul talk about this on her channel as a book that she read and liked. I was like, note that down, because like I said, I love myself a really good, epic fantasy. I find them harder and harder to find these days. So hopefully that is one for me. And the final book that I'll be reading in this vlog, I saw on Tom Orange's channel, and it is The Three-Body Problem by, I don't know how to say the name, and I know people have said it and I've forgotten. Cixin Liu. I'm sorry, I will go and read other people's vlogs again to see if they have actually said the name. I saw this special edition at the bookstore, and even though I'd already borrowed this from the library, I was like, I have to have it. I didn't realize that some of our bookstores were now starting to sell limited editions. So we've got a very cool foiled cover. It is $50, which is quite pricey for a book. It's got sprayed edges, bro. So my kid was with me and she's like, whoa, that's so cool. I agree, babes, I agree. I'll show you the inside of the book because the dust jacket does come off. So there's nothing on the cover, it's plain. It's got the gold on the outside, but it does have end pages. So I'll just show you those. And this one. So I am very excited to read it now. It just makes it more exciting. It's not great for my wallet, obviously. This year I have literally bought more books than I have in the last 15 years combined. And that's because I was doing the bookstore purchases. I'd go to a bookstore and I'd buy a book from each bookstore and trying to get lots from independent bookstores. So yeah, so I have purchased a lot. After this year, I'll probably go back to my non-purchasing ways, but maybe every now and again, if I find an edition of a book that I do actually really enjoy, I've already read and loved, because this is always a bit of a risk. What if I hate this? It will make a great gift for someone, I guess. But a lot of people have been talking about it. I know this is also a television show. I'm not going to watch a show. I'm going to read this first. And I think you're either in the camp of amazing or too bloody confusing. I feel like that's been the consensus. I don't know where I'm going to fall on this one, but this will be the final read for this vlog. I'm just at home. It's a Sunday. My kids are off at their dad's for the one day, and I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be chilling and relaxing. So I will see you once I've got an update on one of the 3 books that are left. And it's funny, so the last 3 are sort of sci-fi, horror, fantasy. So kind of the more like exciting books. Hey guys, hopefully that sound or the gunner isn't too loud, but I did finish reading, I'll just keep blue in the frame, There Is No Anti-Mimetics Division by Quantum. I have given it 4 stars. It is a mindfuck. This book raw dogs your brain.
Call that the headbanger. Oh yes.
It's like I can't even describe it, just like an anti-meme. How do you fight something that you can't talk about, you can't think about, and you don't remember? Hello, beautiful. Hey, Nova. Sniff, sniff. I went to a garden nursery today, so she can smell all the smells. Hey, that's outside world. It was really interesting. So look, it is hard to understand. It's very, what's the word? Is it like concept or cognitive or thought sci-fi? It's one of those kinds of books. So it was very thinky. I did enjoy it. There is a lot of sort of government reports in there. So that's how most of it is written, like a government report. But I didn't mind that. So yeah, you've got a secret division of the government, and they're the last bastion, the last stand against this almost undefeatable foe. It is terrifying. I would say it's definitely a horror sci-fi. I was severely disturbed. It made me feel so feeble. How do you stand up against something of this nature? Hey Sylvie, everyone's coming to sniff my fingers. But it's also part of the SCD, set in the SCD universe, and I had to look this up on Wikipedia, and it's kind of like a collective where different authors contribute stories to it that are based on like paranormal entities. It's a whole thing. It's a whole universe I was not aware of. So it is part of that. But I did enjoy it. It was something different and out of the ordinary. And yeah, I did have to just watch some YouTube in bed straight after because I didn't want to go to sleep with thinking about what I just read. I have to say though, that Marion Wheeler is the real MVP.
You the real MVP.
Amazing. Amazing character. She's a real one. So absolutely loved her. But so that was a 4-star read. And will I check out the TV series? Maybe. I might check it out. I don't know what it's on. I'll see if I have that streaming service or wherever it is. But the next book I'm going to pick up is The Sword Defiant. Okay, so I finished reading The Sword Defiant by Gareth Ryder Hanrahan, which is the first in the Lands of the Firstborn series. So basically you've got a few characters. One of them is Alfric, or Alf, and I'd probably say he was one of my favorites. And the second POV you get is his sisters. Olva, who is just a regular village woman, but who has lost everyone except her son. So how this starts is you've got Alf and an evil sword. So he vanquished this great foe and has to sort of babysit this sword who can talk to him, and is a bit of a smartass. The vibe I was getting was Willow and Mad Mardigan.
Well, that was really stupid, Peck.
Don't call me a peck.
Oh, I'm sorry. Peck.
You be careful. I am a powerful sorcerer. See this acorn? I'll throw it at you and turn you to stone.
Ooh. I'm really scared. No, don't! There's a peck here with an acorn pointed at me!
I wouldn't want to waste it.
Ha! Peck.
So this was giving me those kind of vibes. We don't really know where this sword's allegiance lies. They were devoted to their dead master. So are they chaotic evil? Are they neutral evil? We don't know. But basically, yeah, he's begrudgingly dragging this sword around, just trying to find more foes to vanquish. And then his sister, who's trying to live a quiet life, her son she receives a letter one day, and it's supposedly from her brother Alf. And just hearing that his uncle is the famous Lammergeier, slayer of the evil one, he decides to go against his mother's wishes and try to meet up with his uncle and become his squire. So his mother tries to get him back because she knows that way lies death. Unfortunately, along the way, a lot of goes down and she ends up on her own quest to retrieve her son. And then Alf finds out, okay, so the main premise of this book, it's very Lord of the Ringsy. There's a fellowship of 9 and one of them died during this big battle. But unlike the Lord of the Rings, this fellowship have fallen out of touch. It's been quite a long time. They've all gone their own ways. And I would say it's very uncertain as to whether they are all on the same team anymore. But lo and behold, an evil is returning and Alf is trying to get the team back together, but do they all want to play ball? So it is typical epic fantasy in that it is slow paced, but for an epic fantasy, I felt like it was probably fast paced. So action starts off immediately and is interspersed all the way through. Obviously there's a lot of backstabbings and deception and differing objectives within the 9 themselves. There's obviously the threat of the evil that is returning. There are elves in this and warlocks, wizards, shapeshifters, just a whole different team of magical beings. And poor dumb Alf is sort of caught in the middle and he's just trying to be a good man and do the right thing. But what is the right thing in this instance. I loved one of his best mates who was a dwarf. They were very cool. I'm just going to turn this, but I had a good time. So it was a 4-star for me. I'd say read this if you like Age of Myths. It was giving me a lot of the same vibes of that book. Same thing if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like Willow, the movie. That being said, it is part of a series, but I don't feel the need to continue. I'm sort of satisfied as is. So you could leave it as a standalone, which is what I am doing. Obviously it's just starting to ramp up. But yeah, I don't know. Even though it's a 4-star read, I just don't feel the need to keep investing more time in it. And that brings us to the last book of this vlog, which is The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. It is about a young woman who sees her father executed. He was, I think, a physics professor. She ends up getting recruited by the government to work for them on this project. And then you've got another professor who is playing this game. There's sort of an Ender's Game thing going on here. And he gets pulled into what's happening. So this is an alien sci-fi. It is very physics-based, which is not something I particularly enjoy. So a lot of like nanotech and things of that nature. The issue for me is I didn't realize this was translated, even though it says it's translated by Ken Liu. And I have the same problems with this as I've had with every single Asian language translated work I've read. So it doesn't matter which Asian language it is, for whatever reason, I find the translated English to have a very weird cadence. I find that the dialogue is stilted and feels a bit unnatural, and the characters, I just feel absolutely no emotion. Every Asian language translated book I've read has felt very wooden, and it's just not something I can push past. I did give this 50%, but it just feels very lifeless and dead to me. I did end up reading the last portion of the book, like the last quarter, just to see what was going on. And yeah, I don't know, it just felt a bit meh to me. It's not anything new per se. Like I said, I've read a lot of sci-fi, and like if you've read Ender's Game and things of that nature, you might hypothesize what's happening. But yeah, I don't think obviously I'm not in the majority who love this. I have no desire to see the TV series. I can see why people enjoy it, but yeah, for me, it's mostly the translation issues. Just the English version of this does not do anything for me. I feel so removed from the story, and I just can't get into it. I did end up reading about the author too, and there was some comments made about the Uyghurs that I don't agree with. I don't agree with their views on internment camps. So unfortunately, DNF. But let me wrap up all of the books that I read in this particular vlog. So we had The Book of All Loves by Agustin Fernando Mayo, which I DNF'd. The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu, which I also DNF'd. The Little Village of Book Lovers by Nina George, which I DNF'd. Little Scratch by Rebecca Watson, which I gave a 2.5 stars. Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James, which I gave 3.5 stars. The Sword Defiant by Gareth Ryder Hanrahan, which I gave 4 stars. And my favourite read of this vlog, There Is No Anti-Memetics Division by Quantum, which I gave 4 stars. So going forward, this is my last vlog for August. I just had to remember the month. I am not going to be talking about DNFs in individual vlogs. Instead, I'm going to save all the DNFs for just one vlog at the end of the month. So for people who want to see which books I picked up but did not finish for various reasons, they can. And if you're not interested in knowing which books I DNF, you can just skip that video. So that's how I'll be progressing forward. Each vlog will just only be about books I've read in full and rated, and then we'll have the one DNF vlog for the end of the month. But that is everything for the month of August. I'll now see you for my Wild Ones book club, which is always at the end, the September TBR, and then my August wrap up. Until next time, stay wild, star child.